welcome to episode 21 of Karlene's Anime Corner. And we are right in the middle of the holiday season. And you know what that means? I haven't been watching anime because in November, 2 games came out that I absolutely had to play. So I've been spending my evenings playing video games. It is sort of anime related since both of them are Japanese products. I have been greatly enjoying the huge expansion they did to Animal Crossing. This is sailing across the seas with Captain again, the little Kappa sea captain, and also decorating homes in the island paradise. Also, the remakes of Pokemon Shining Diamond and Brilliant Pearl, or is it the other way around? Eek. You can kind of see a little bit that I never played them before, so I have been diving into them with a friend of mine, and my little Piplup is the most adorable little Pokemon on Earth, and I have decided he's never allowed to evolve, so I'm taking him to the very end of the game in his first evolution. We'll see if that hurts me in the end. Not sure. I've only gotten to my second gym badge. Pokemon games are kind of a new thing for me. I've started many of them. I've never finished a single one. I'm bound and determined I'm going to finish this one. So I'm only 6 hours in, and I still have only gotten to a second gym badge. So we'll see if I actually manage to make my December goal of finishing this game possible. Having not watched a lot of anime in the past month, unfortunately, I don't have a Karlene's Crunchyroll Q review for you. I've mostly been looking forward to the new year, planning out the restarting of my anime club here at the library, and scheduling out new anime podcast episodes. I have found a couple co-workers who have not yet been on my podcast that are willing to do that, and I found some old hands that are going to come back and do some new series and movies for us. And speaking of old hands, I am very, very happy that Mr. Keith decided to be on this episode of the podcast again. He is now my first 3-time person, but it is helped that he sits right next to me at work, and I decided I needed to reward him for going through Godzilla's Singular Point with me by doing something I knew he would love. So, with that in mind, let us kick off this December episode by listening to us talk about something that at first is very non-anime: Star Wars. Hello, Mr. Keith.
Hello
I have
again.
you back again for a third time for another huge franchise, although one that's not commonly associated with either Japan or anime. Today we are going to be talking about the anthology series, Star Wars Visions, which is a collection of 9 shorts. So I've decided to make our life a little bit simpler and this podcast a little bit shorter, that we would pick 3 of the shorts to talk about in depth and maybe do a little bit of drop in on some of the others and what we thought.
Okay. Yeah.
So you and I, when we were discussing this, we looked at each other and we instantly said The Duel.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first one.
The first one. Because that was amazing. And I can see why Disney made that the first one.
The first one, yeah. Start off with a bang.
Yeah, go off with a huge bang right there. And then I chose Tatooine Rhapsody just because that one was so off the wall different from anything else Star Wars. I was like,
yeah, it was unlike any of the other shorts. It was basically a rock opera, and we'll talk more about it.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
So really enjoyed that one. And then the other one you chose, which I was like, was not necessarily my third choice, but rewatching it, I have now, it's crawled up higher it's grown on me. It's crawled up in the rankings. Was called, let me check my notes here so I get this right, 20B1, which at the end I think they just shortened that to Toby.
Yeah, it's just
so
Toby. Yeah.
We can decide how we want to refer to him when we talk more in depth there. But before we get into that, this is a Star Wars based thing. And Star Wars Visions, I love this series because they told the Japanese animators, you are not tied to canon.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to have Skywalkers.
You
don't
can
have to
rewrite the entire history of the universe if you want to for Star Wars.
And it's set all throughout the timeline. You have some like in the ancient Sith. You have some set between
and
when
some
the Jedi
like the
were
duels
being
that
hunted.
are not actually set
That's in
at all. It's a completely different universe.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Kind of liberated them to
Which
do whatever they want.
I think is what Star Wars needed because, okay, as you said, it doesn't involve any Skywalkers.
Yes, thankfully.
And this is the one thing that's really driving me nuts. I really love The Mandalorian because it had nothing to do with Skywalkers. It had nothing to do with this. And then in the last episode, they have Luke show up.
Luke shows up.
And I was like, you did it again.
Yep.
I mean, it did kind of make sense with the time period and the storytelling, but I was like, you couldn't finish a series without revolving it around Luke Skywalker somehow.
The whole appeal of The Mandalorian was this was a story on kind of the edges of the galaxy, the fringes, and then it had to end up eventually involving the main characters. And I like The Mandalorian, but yeah, it was nice to see in Visions them just completely separate themselves from the normal Star Wars
and
tradition.
they used all different studios. A few studios wound up on there more than once, but even then there were different directors within that studio, so you got different styles.
Different styles, yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. So it was a wonderful slice of anime at its best as far as the animation goes these days.
And this is kind of, I want more of this stuff from Star Wars. I mean, you have this whole universe with all these planets.
Well, there's several of these shorts that my main complaint with them was actually I felt the storytelling was too condensed, so it didn't tell a good story in a short. But I would have loved to have seen a 90-minute movie where they could actually go in depth and do more with it.
Some of them did suffer from being, because some of them I think were only like 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, the duel is incredibly short, but I feel like they did a good job on that because they were focusing on one thing.
And it's such a simple story. It's like an old school samurai thing.
Which,
but
we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
So first, a little geekiness on Star Wars. How much of a Star Wars fan are you? I mean, how much Star Wars have you watched?
I grew up reading all the books. I watched all the movies when I was like 6 or whatever, and then watched them on repeat until our VHS tapes basically fell apart. So I was hardcore Star Wars nerd
all the way.
Up. Yeah.
So original trilogy, prequel trilogy, iffy.
Yeah,
okay.
But, I liked the first 2 of the new movies. The Force Awakens and Last Jedi.
The first one, Force Awakens, was really strong, but mostly I think because it was literally doing a redo of The New Hope, which is a very good, solid storyline.
It's just an old,
it's a classic storyline.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi, I thought, had really, really good moments, really good ideas. Some of the storytelling got really shaky.
Yeah.
Just gonna say. Yeah. I had some plot issues with that one, but in general, I enjoyed that one.
It. And then
the
Rise
final
of Skywalker. Yeah, I know you didn't like it.
No,
I didn't like it either.
It's probably up there with one of my least favorite Star Wars films.
So Star Wars definitely, after that trilogy, needed, I think, a shot in the arm, and there was The Mandalorian, which was fun.
And
now this.
And now they're coming out with a Boba Fett series, which I'm still not sure why Boba Fett became such a big character.
He had like 2 speaking lines. And
it barely showed up in the original trilogy, and apparently he just instantly became everybody's favorite. And I'm like,
it's
okay.
Basically he has a cool helmet. That's the entire.
That's all I can figure. Cool helmet, and you're instantly like the best character.
Yeah.
Yeah. But my Star Wars history a little bit less in depth than yours, very much less. So I have told you this before, but the first Star Wars film I ever watched, and the only one I watched for most of my young life until I was like early high school, late middle school. I'm sure exactly when I watched Star Wars: A New Hope. I'm pretty sure my dad's VHS copy did not say A New Hope on it, so probably at least the copy I watched was older than the prequel trilogy.
Even older, yeah.
So was my dad taped off of TV a made-for-TV movie, which Lucas did make. This was made by George Lucas, so it is considered, canon. Yeah. Ewoks in the Battle for Endor.
I'd heard of it, but I don't think I'd ever met anyone who that was their
even more hysterical funny about this is that it is actually a sequel movie to another movie called Caravan of Courage. I never saw Caravan of Courage until way later.
And you said the one you saw was better than Caravan.
Yeah, it was definitely better.
Watch
the second one. Okay. But the funny part is in the second one, this girl's entire family gets killed within the first 5 minutes. Apparently, the whole first movie is about her family, so this is supposed to be an emotional thing with her finding her.
I don't know these people.
Yeah, but I was like, okay. Her parents are dead. Moving on.
But
has a magic witch that turns into a raven.
In Star Wars?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's a magic. She turns into a raven. She can shapeshift with some magic ring. which somebody told me later on that she was a Force witch and that ring had a Kyber crystal in it. I think this is retro making up.
That's retro, yeah. I think the animators just wanted a witch, like a classic fantasy witch.
It's not animated, it's live action.
Oh, that's right.
It's live action, yeah.
I'm thinking of Droids.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. That was a cartoon.
But so that's my intro to Star Wars is an Ewok movie. So needless to say, a lot of people have issues with Ewoks in the third movie. I was like, oh, they're perfectly normal.
Ewoks.
I love Ewoks. I imprinted on them young.
Right, they were your first exposure.
So that is, and as I said, I did not actually watch the original trilogy until much later, probably not that much before the prequel trilogy started coming out, probably about the same time. I actually really did enjoy when it came out, Phantom Menace, mostly because it was the first time I'd seen a movie like that with the racing. I've since rewatched it, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of really bad.
Yeah, but there are fun moments.
There are fun moments.
Pod racing is fun. The lightsaber duel is really cool.
That's really cool.
It has some highlights for sure.
And then I watched Clone Wars. And I went, this is garbage, and I stopped watching Star Wars.
The second movie?
Yes, literally. I have never seen the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
It's
actually pretty good.
Never seen it because Clone Wars was just like, I'm done.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones, sorry. Clone Wars is the cartoon.
Clone Wars is the cartoon, which is supposedly pretty good.
I started watching it this year. I've only watched a few episodes, but yeah, it's not bad.
I heard it starts okay, and then it just gets better.
What I appreciate is they had an entire episode with no Skywalkers, no Yodas.
Just the clones.
Yeah. And I was like, and that's in the first 6 episodes. So I was like, I'm impressed.
Yeah, and they brought a character from that into Mandalorian.
Oh, really?
What was her name? Ahsoka, the Jedi.
Oh, yes, Ahsoka.
She's from that cartoon.
Yeah.
So
very different in Mandalorian than she is in the early stages of Clone Wars.
A little more jaded, I think.
Yeah, I have never read a Star Wars book except for one we're going to talk about. I'm in the middle of reading right now. I, to be honest, grew up mostly watching Star Trek and reading Star Trek books.
Really?
So I'm that one.
For me, it was the other way around. I grew up watching Star Wars, and I came to Star Trek kind of once I was an adult.
Yeah.
I went back and watched.
I think my dad was more of a Star Trek person than a Star Wars, so that was probably more the reason why. My mom doesn't like Star Wars. She likes Star Trek. Again,
it's the eternal struggle,
It's the eternal, right there. So moving on, because we have now talked 10 minutes about
just Star Wars. Yeah, we'll jump into the
shorts. As you can hear, we have watched a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Mr. Keith has read a lot of the books, which I haven't. But let's dive into what did they do with Visions that made it so amazing. I don't know if it's really possible to spoil shorts, but I'm going to call this at the point where we start spoiling things.
Yeah, we're going to spoil probably the endings of these early shorts.
Well, I mean, the duel, it's a duel.
It's a duel, yeah.
Granted, there is a duel. It did have a bit of a shocker at the end, though.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we'll start with that one.
Oh, real quick, though, I did want to throw in, there is a Japanese connection with the original Star Wars.
Yes.
Because apparently it has been cited many times that some of the inspirations for the characters in Star Wars came from Akira Kurosawa films.
Exactly. The Hidden Fortress.
The Hidden Fortress specifically. Apparently, C-3PO and R2-D2 are based on the two peasants.
The two guys. And I think George Lucas he's basically admitted it.
Yeah, I think he's admitted that.
He said,
I was reading somewhere, and I don't know how true this is, that he based Han Solo a little bit on Yojimbo.
I can see that. Roguish.
The roguish, I'll do anything for money type idea, but deep down, heart of gold.
Does the right thing.
So apparently there is a Akira Kurosawa link, which makes the duel even better.
It's come full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah, back to Kurosawa.
The duel is, I think, the shortest of the shorts that we watched.
It was only 15 minutes?
I thought it was less than 15 minutes even.
It was short for sure.
It was short. It definitely short. But it is set in a completely alternative history.
Yeah.
No link whatsoever to the current Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. And it's set on a planet that apparently set up a lot like feudal Japan.
Yeah. There's even straw hats and
an R2-D2 droid in the straw samurai hat.
It is very clearly feudal era Japan inspired.
The main character looks a little bit like Toshiro Mifune, could dress up as him, wandering into town as the Ronin.
Wanders in, classic Yojimbo.
He's got the two swords of the samurai.
Yeah.
And he shows up in this village, and I start getting a little bit when we get into it, I do get a little bit of that Yojimbo vibe.
Mm-hmm. And black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Course,
they did it. This is done by a company that specializes in CGI animation. So they have never actually done a full movie or series on their own, but they do a lot of work for other series.
Okay.
They did some work for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for the opening.
Yeah.
So they're very well known for their CGI
but
work.
this is kind of their first.
As far as I can tell, this is the first independent standalone that
so
they've
far,
done,
so
other
good.
than like a music video or two, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so they did a great job. It's definitely very CGI. You can tell.
Yeah.
There's a way that CGI
it doesn't
looks.
But I like that they not only did they do it in black and white, but they gave it kind of a film grain.
Yeah, they gave it
look.
that streaky old film
It
look.
looks like
you
you're
get.
watching like a samurai movie from 50 years ago.
It's a little bit like the video game where they put the Akira Kurosawa filter
mode. Yeah,
filter
exactly.
on
It's
it.
classic black and
So,
white. You can't have a samurai movie in color, basically. It
No,
it
you
feels
can't.
wrong.
It is so wrong. It has to be black
It
and
has
white.
to be. Yeah.
What I love about this short more than anything else is not only the references to Akira Kurosawa with Yojimbo and a little bit of the Seven Samurai with the village hiring the guards to help them against the bandits and stuff, is just the fact that shock moment when the guy you think is the good guy pulls out his lightsaber and it's red.
And it's red, which not only was shocking as a character moment, but with everything in black and white, seeing the red
seeing
lightsaber,
that red lightsaber light up
at you.
Yeah, that was a little bit shocking. The other thing I loved about this was, as we've said, the bad Sith Lord is a lady.
Yes.
Dressed in high heels. And when you first see her, she's got like this whole cloak and robe on, so you can't really see her face very much other than her eyes, which have a little bit of yellow in them to, stand out against
again.
Yeah. And then she takes off that cloak and she's got hair. And I'm just like, you are amazing looking.
And a crazy lightsaber.
Yeah, and a crazy lightsaber that looks like an umbrella spokes, which is great when she's like blocking the machine
lasers,
gun
the little
lasers
machine
and
gun
stuff.
laser, what I liked about this one was, as you said, the reveal of the red lightsaber, because so much of Star Wars, even in these shorts, is like pretty clear-cut, good, evil, light side,
Jedi,
dark side.
Sith.
The idea of there's a former Sith who's now hunting his old, I guess, colleagues. You can.
Well, I don't even know if he's hunting, because it feels like he was in that village by accident.
Well, at the end, he does show.
That's
the
true,
collection
and
of
that's
the
the second shocking moment. Is he opens up his little kimono, and you see a line of like 6 or 7 red kyber crystals
He's collecting
from
them,
other Sith lords.
So I guess he just wanders around until he. Yeah, it's very mysterious.
So if you are interested in knowing more about who this person is, his backstory, and where he's headed, there is a book, which I found amazing, because Disney must have said, we have a winner with this one, because that book came out 3 weeks, I think, after the short got posted.
They knew it would be.
So they knew it was going to be big,
one.
and that people were going to be asking, what is going on?
So you've read some of the
I've read most of it.
I plan to, but so you're most of the way through it.
Yeah, most of the way through. I will say for sure, I love what they're doing with this world. Little spoiler for the book. Jedi are not necessarily good guys.
Really? Okay.
No.
Just like samurai.
It is
right?
just like samurai. They are sworn to feudal lords, and they're considered good guys because they keep their oaths to their lords. But the lords aren't necessarily good people.
Okay. Is it set before the short or after?
It is set mostly after. It opens with the short happening, but you find out backstory as you read it.
Okay.
And it goes on from there with what happens after the short.
Okay.
But yeah, I love the world they set up, because it is very much like feudal Japan goes galaxy-wide type idea.
Yeah.
And the Sith decided that we don't want to follow all the orders our lords give us. We want to be independent. And some of them take it too far, which is how they get an evil reputation.
But that's interesting, because that's not necessarily an evil idea.
No, it's not.
That's a classic trope in samurai movies, where the honorable samurai has an evil lord, and he's conflicted about his duty.
Yeah, and that's
honor,
and some of that does show up in the Visions, in the Ronin Visions novel as well.
I can't wait to read it.
So yeah. So as I said, if you want Star Wars set in feudal Japan, the Star Wars Visions novel Ronin, very good.
All right.
Very good.
Very cool. Okay.
All right. We are in love with this movie. It's got Akira Kurosawa written all over it.
Yeah.
Traditional Japanese
gorgeous to look
setting.
At. Really cool lightsaber fights.
Amazing CGI animation.
Packs a lot into 13, 14 minutes.
That lightsaber duel, man.
It was awesome.
It was amazing. And it had the little flying sparrow things from The Mandalorian show up again.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because apparently can't remember the name of his droid. It wasn't R2-D2, but it was an R2-D2
the one with
type.
the straw hat, right?
Yeah. Let me check my notes here.
I don't know if did it have a name?
I don't know if he gave it a name. So, yeah.
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would name a droid.
No, he doesn't. Although it probably does have one in the. I think in the book it does have a name because they have to refer to it as something, but I can't remember right now with all the numbers and letters.
I know there's a lot of. We got Toby. We got this. We got that.
So speaking of Toby, let's move on to that one next.
Okay. All right.
Why did you pick Toby as one of your favorites?
It just was. It was kind of, in these shorts, there's a lot of classic good, evil type storytelling. And this one doesn't really deviate from that. The Jedi are good, the Sith is evil, but it's just a really good telling of that. It's this classic, almost like Pinocchio style. A boy dreams of becoming, something greater. And in this case, it's not a toy, it's a droid. And...
A droid that looks a lot like Astro Boy.
Like Astro Boy,
Just gonna say, this short, part of why I loved it is it leans into that classic 60s manga anime style.
It's basically like, what if Astro Boy wanted to become a Jedi?
Yeah.
And what I loved is, droids have always been a big part of Star Wars. But when they talk about the Force, it's this like magical thing that connects all living creatures. But they never really... said if that includes droids or not.
Are droids living?
Are they living? Yeah.
Are they really people? Are they this? Which is an interesting question because I think this gets brought up in Solo, but I have to admit that's another Star Wars film I haven't watched.
There is a droid in that movie who's kind of like a pro-liberation sort of thing, like liberate droids.
Look at C-3PO. He can say he doesn't like things. He's got opinions and thoughts on things, a few too many at times. But
it is a weird part of Star Wars where clearly they have personalities.
And then some of the droids are just like little cleaning things where they have no personality.
But then, some of them are servants and are they? Yeah, it's a weird sort of thing. Yeah. But this one pretty definitively answers, not only do they have personalities, but they can connect to the Force
and actually become Jedi.
Yeah. So I just love that idea.
Part of what I loved about this anime was the animation style, because it's going very. I saw the old Jedi character they have in there, and he has the classic Tezuka nose, as I call it.
Which you pointed out.
Yes. Osamu Tezuka, the godfather of manga, creator of Astro Boy and a lot of really classic anime and manga characters. He tended to draw especially older gentlemen with giant noses.
With the big noses.
Yeah, I don't know why. Which looks hysterically funny when you remake one of his shows in a modern anime. I think it does better in the short than it has in some of the others I've watched.
The anime.
Yeah. I watched a anime called Tales of the Phoenix, which is based on his Phoenix anime. It's really good, but the parts where they stay true to his designs kind of jar with the more modern
in motion than on the page. I could see that.
It's giant noses. I mean, come on, it's the Tezuka
Everyone
nose.
has their signature.
He's got a nose. I love that because I looked at that and I was like, oh, somebody's going back to their roots. And I love it when they pull in like the roots of anime and influences, but give it a modern feel, which this did. The other thing I noticed was the music. I love the jangly type music it has to this, particularly when he's like working on the plants to make the planet grow and stuff. And weirdly enough, it gave me a Nausicaa vibe at that time.
It definitely,
So I wonder if they weren't pulling from that also.
And I did like, you mentioned the plants, and I like that was part of it, that this wasn't a story about someone like conquering the galaxy.
It's not about vengeance. It's not about fighting.
It's about growing, terraforming planets and bringing life back.
And I love the fact that we're getting to see Jedi do something other than fight.
Yeah.
Because his master, I didn't actually even notice this in the first few minutes of the short, which shows you how much paying attention I was doing. He has no arms.
He has no arms, yeah.
He does everything with like little robot chair that has little extender things. At one point you see him, and I mostly noticed no arms when he starts using the Force for things, because it's very obvious then he can't grab the door and rip it open. He has to use the Force to do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They never tell you what happened. I'm guessing he
probably during the Jedi Purge. Yeah,
something happened.
And it is interesting. You mentioned that he uses the Force because he probably couldn't until that point because he would have been detected by the Sith.
Yeah, but the Sith already had detected him, and he knew it.
Him, he said, "All right."
Yeah, but I love the fact that he got through that whole war thing, and he's decided. He doesn't want vengeance. He doesn't want to continue the war. He doesn't want to do any of that. He wants to make planets bloom.
Yeah,
and I was like,
which makes sense for a Jedi. You know, they're all about the Force is all about life and connections and growth. So I thought that was very.
So
very cool.
I like that view because that's not a view of the Jedi we get in the movies much. It's more.
A little more.
We're in the middle of a battle. Let's go do a lightsaber duel.
This guy was a little more almost like spiritual. In his ways.
He reminded me a little bit of Alec Guinness from A New Hope.
Exactly. Yeah,
so,
the wise.
More the older, the wise.
Yeah, not out there to go kill some Sith.
Yeah. Although even Alec Guinness, which now I can't remember his actual Jedi name.
Obi-Wan.
Thank you, Obi-Wan. I can't believe I forgot Obi-Wan's name. I'm a horrible Star Wars fan. Horrible Star Wars person. But even Obi-Wan, we see him in this movie headed to go rescue a princess. Yeah. It's like, even then, he's been living in peace all these years, but he's still ready to go.
He's still ready to go, yeah. I liked this one a lot for that reason, yeah.
I love the ending when he finally connects to the Force and the Kyber crystal comes out of his heart because that's where
it was.
That's where it was. He was powered by the Kyber crystal, so he truly is a creature of the Force.
Yep. And it ends with him going off
yes, with all his little droid
with all
friends.
His little buddies.
His little droid friends. I love those. This is just a really cute, really sweet anime. And it had a nice, and it did have a Star Wars duel in it. So
but it wasn't the focus of the movie, of the short,
No, his focus was making the planet bloom and becoming a good person that can help the galaxy as a Jedi, not by fighting, but by making planets grow.
Yeah, bringing life back to the galaxy. Yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, and as I said, I like the fact it had that 60s anime vibe to it, bringing back some of the old school, but doing it in a really pretty way. The studio who did that one was Science Saru. Yeah, the co-founder of Science Saru is Masaki Yuasa, who is one of my favorite directors. He did a movie called Lu Over the Wall, which is one of my favorite mermaid movies ever.
Okay.
He is also kind of very stylized and at times rather old school in his animation as well.
Really?
He's not the one who directed this. This was done by a different director.
A Spanish director.
Yeah, a Spanish director,
cool.
As you mentioned, which is really cool because you don't see that a lot in anime. Somebody going, a foreigner going over to Japan to work in an actual Japanese
this
anime
is a pretty
studio.
big time project too.
In Lu Over the Wall, he called upon, I think, a lot of like the old Popeye cartoons and stuff
really?
At times with just the way the body shapes are and stuff.
Really?
So
okay.
I can see that spirit of Science Saru in this.
Yeah, the old school animation.
Kind of funny how different an anime can be with a different director. Science Saru also did another short, which we're not really going to go into, Akakuri.
That was the last
one.
Yeah, which I also liked.
Yeah, that one was also really good. But that one was done by a female director who is the other founder of Science Saru.
The co-founder. Okay.
Yeah, I would really like to see Masaki Yuasa do his Star Wars one, which is why I'm hoping there's a second volume.
I want a second season of this.
Yes, I want a second season for sure.
Bring new studios, new directors.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So my last pick, which you agreed that we would do, is one that I don't think a lot of people would like because it is very not Star Wars.
It is like total whiplash.
Not Star Wars.
It came after the duel too, right?
Right, which is
these two back to back is just hilarious.
Yeah, but I think that's part of why I liked it so much because after the tension of the duel and all the oh my gosh and all this, you get this.
It's a bit of a palate cleanser.
Yes, you get Tatooine Rhapsody. Which takes place during the Purge, from what I understand, because at the beginning you have the Padawan Jay, who's on the run from these stormtroopers. He falls down, he breaks his lightsaber, and a hut with dreadlocks,
Why not?
skull T-shirt, and a nose ring holds out his hand and says, "Want to join my band?"
And there you go.
And I'm like, I'm sold.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah, rock and roll Star Wars.
Yep. So G is, I don't know if he's actually related to Jabba the Hutt or not.
They didn't specify how. He is, though.
He is in the Hutt
like a
clan.
Nephew, maybe, or something. Yeah.
And apparently he's decided he doesn't want to be part of the underworld. He doesn't want to be part of that. He wants to do his
rock and roll.
Rock and roll with his band.
Yeah.
And the Star Wavers. And I love it because you get Boba Fett in this, and he looks chibi.
He looks so silly.
He looks like a chibi Boba Fett. He's still menacing, though.
Yeah.
But they kept that. But yeah, I love the chibi Boba Fett and they come in and they attack and they take G because Jabba, I don't know, names in me today. Jabba the Hutt has declared that, he needs to die because he's betrayed the clan. He's a disgrace to the family. He won't join them in their things and
All
stuff.
He wants to do is rock and roll.
And I love the fact that Jay, the former Padawan, he tries to go fight. He tries to defend his friend who took him in when he was at his lowest moment.
He was on the run.
And his lightsaber won't light up.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's because, A, it's broken, because they do hint that it's broken, or B, that he just really doesn't have the heart to fight.
Yeah, because they do, in some of the other shorts, imply, who holds a lightsaber changes the lightsaber.
Yeah, it changes. So I like the idea that it wasn't just broken, that he literally had just didn't have the heart to do the violence.
Yeah, he couldn't commit.
Because he's so scarred by the violence that he saw earlier.
And that's not his dream, right? I mean,
it's not.
At the end, we see what he really is made to do is rock and roll.
Yes, which I love that because they are all depressed because G is gone and their band's falling apart and they're going to lose their best friend. And Jay comes up with his plan. We are going to go to Jabba the Hutt. And we don't see this part. But apparently he makes some kind of deal with Jabba, which I think involves all of the band dying, to be honest.
Probably.
You can execute all of us. Remove this entire stain.
If
we're allowed to play one last song and actually finish a song.
Yeah, that's funny because they never were able to finish a set because their bounty hunters would constantly chasing them.
So their dream is to finish a set. And I'm sorry, this is the most 90s rock song ever.
It felt like an old 80s or 90s movie. Where
I think it was more 90s.
Where all the problems of the world can be solved through
by
the power of music. Right?
Which, hey, has a history in anime too. Looking at Macross.
That's a classic anime thing.
Classic Macross thing there.
Yeah.
I mean, they win in a war with aliens by pop songs.
Why not?
Yeah, classic series. I love that one.
And I did you mentioned, there's Jabba, there's Boba the Fett. I think this was the only one with characters from the movies.
I think so too. I think it's the only one that might actually be set in the actual Star Wars.
But I like that they didn't take it seriously at all.
No,
they're basically there for comic relief almost.
And I love the fact they get to the end and it's they have streamed the song throughout all of Tatooine. And my only thought was, what if Luke heard this song? What if Luke suddenly becomes, I want to be the lead singer in a band?
Teenage Luke listening to the radio, being like, yeah.
This is the one where I think they should have had Luke show up, just being a very completely different Luke.
Change his destiny from being a Jedi to a rock star.
Yeah,
he goes and buys a guitar.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sequel to this I want to see.
Spin-off.
But I love the fact that at the very end, Jay gets his courage, because we've seen him mostly running away at this point, 3/4 of the time. He gets his courage and he grabs his microphone and he stands up and he says, Jabba, you have this chance. You can become our sponsor.
And there you go.
The thing is, you see Jabba, his tail is even tapping to the music.
Yeah, even he can't resist.
Even he can't resist. And I love the fact that it ends with them playing more music and Jabba is now the sponsor of a rock band.
Yeah. I mean, it's so silly, but it's so fun.
It is awesome. I'm sorry. I fell in love with this one because it is so not Star Wars.
And especially even compared to the other shorts. A lot of them are a little on the serious side.
The serious side, the I'm going to save you or kill you side.
Save the galaxy.
Yeah,
this is just guys who want to rock and roll.
This was the only one I would say had humor to it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them had some slightly humorous touches,
but
this was the only one I would literally call it a humorous Star Wars short.
Yeah, and it was just...
And it was humor that was not based on C-3PO and R2-D2 meckering back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. It was a completely different kind of humor.
It was a
than we're
different
used to
humor.
seeing in Star Wars.
It was a warm, heartfelt humor.
Exactly.
It wasn't a laugh out loud, I'm going to die laughing because somebody made a funny quip. It was feel-good humor.
Yeah. So we both really liked this one.
Yeah. You looked at me a little side-eye when I said Tatooine Rhapsody, and then apparently you rewatched it.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, this is amazing. The power of music.
The power of music. And I'm sorry, a hut with a nose ring.
Yeah. Need I say more?
And a guitar that spits fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, yes.
It was.
Yeah. Well, and
cool.
And what I also love is they even hint when they're walking out onto the stage to perform for Jabba, Jay pulls out something that looks like it could be a lightsaber, and you see all the guards tense. And he goes, no, it's just a microphone, guys.
Yep,
and he walks out, and it really is just a microphone. So I'm wondering if he took his lightsaber and turned it into the microphone. Because I do think he uses a force at one point because he makes that giant jump while he's singing. And I think that's him being able to channel the force for the first time.
I mean, we talked earlier how his lightsaber wouldn't work, but maybe now that he had the microphone.
Now it's now a microphone. It's now truly expressing what he is.
I mean, if the force is the connection between life, what better way than rock and roll?
I mean, come on. So yeah. So that, I think that's a good point to kind of start wrapping up our discussion here.
I mean, I liked all of them, but these three were kind of three at the top.
The only one that I think I would put down on the bottom of my list, I didn't really like it, was The Twins by Studio Trigger.
Yeah, because it looked amazing. The story was a bit of a
The story, I think, was a bit of a letdown, and also just quite honestly, I am discovering more and more over time, I am not a fan of a lot of Studio Trigger things.
Really? Their animation?
Their animation is pretty. And to be honest, I like it a lot of times. But Gurren Lagann was a really big anime. I've watched like the first 4 or 5 episodes and never got any further because it just fell off. It didn't grab me.
This was my first exposure to them. And I thought, it looked pretty gorgeous, but
the animation style looks a lot more like their newest film Promare, and also they did another series which is very adult, and I only watched the first episode, called Kill la Kill. And the way they're dressed with like the sharp angles and all that stuff is very Kill la Kill. Very much that style. And as I said, I only watched one episode because I just
fell off.
I couldn't get into it, and I think that's part of what put me off on the Twins, was that it was very much looking like that. So I had that baggage going into it.
Yeah, but overall, even that wasn't like bad.
It wasn't bad.
It was just
it wasn't my thing.
Worse than the other ones. Yeah. But 9 very solid shorts.
One of the ones I thought could have done with being like a longer movie was definitely the Ninth Jedi, because that's the one where they've called together like the last 9 Jedi, but they have no lightsabers. It's like lightsabers don't exist anymore.
Or maybe they just couldn't get there.
Or they can't make, or they forgot how to make them, which this bothered me because I don't know much about Star Wars legacy, canon, etc. As you've heard, I haven't read all the books and this and stuff. But I had this weird feeling that Jedi were required to make their own lightsaber as kind of a rite of passage.
I'm pretty sure you do, yeah. It's
because if you do it wrong, you literally kill yourself.
Yeah.
But here they have a lightsaber smith who is making the lightsabers for the Jedi. So that already kind of went, okay, all right, it's Star Wars visions, but that already kind of like...
Yeah, some of them, even the ones I like, could have benefited from being maybe like a full half hour, even.
Yeah.
15,
well, this one I think
minutes.
Was almost half an hour.
Okay, then maybe even a little longer.
Yeah,
like
something about the story, it dragged a little bit for me. It didn't feel quite right, but it did have one of the biggest like, oh my gosh,
moments.
What just happened moments, because these 9 Jedi are together. They're getting their lightsabers, and they finally have their lightsabers, and they're like, yay,
they're ready,
we're ready now, and so on. And then everybody lights up their lightsaber.
And
they're all red except one. And it's like, I feel sorry for that poor guy.
Poor guy.
That poor guy. And he's like the youngest one there. So he's like the probably just barely out of Padawan stage.
Yeah, really like a trainee.
Yeah. But that was one of the things I liked about that one. But in general, I felt it needed more time, more backstory, more something
little fleshing
to
out.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm ready for, I hope they do a second season,
Oh yeah,
I like
definitely.
this a lot, and just more diversity is even better. Just new studios.
And that's what I liked, is they didn't show all the Jedi as being good guys. Like the last one, Akakari, I actually kind of really like that story
Mm-hmm.
because he kept having visions of this princess that he loved dying.
Yeah.
So this Jedi goes to help save the princess. He winds up accidentally killing her.
Yeah.
And he joins the dark side so he can bring her to life. But then by joining the dark side, he has to walk away from her.
That's exactly what
and
happened.
I'm just like, that is so dark, but well done.
So you haven't seen Revenge of the Sith, but that's almost exactly what
really
spawns Darth Vader. A very similar visions and
Yeah, so Jedi just need to stop having visions.
Yeah, they never
I think it never ends well. Or stop acting
just
on them.
Just ignore them, yeah.
But yeah. So, and to be honest, I got a little bit more. The other reason was the Kakari. I have seen the Hidden Fortress. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was watching a Kakari, I was definitely getting Hidden Fortress vibes.
Really?
Because Hidden Fortress is about a general and a princess going to this fortress to find gold, I think or something.
So, yeah,
with two peasants as their guide. And this was a princess, general / Jedi, and two peasants as their guide going to a fortress.
They don't hide their influences at all.
They don't hide them at all.
Very on the nose.
They don't hide them at all. Yeah. But I thought that was a good full circle back to A New Hope, which was loosely based on a general and a princess going to go get something.
Absolutely. The shorts, because that was the last short, right?
That was the last one,
So we started with the Kurosawa.
And then we ended with the Kurosawa.
Yeah.
So good book ending.
Very, round.
So I think there was a lot of thought put into the order these were displayed.
Definitely. They started, I think, with their best one and then ended with something to tie it
full circle back around. So as a Star Wars fan, because we completely skipped our star ratings on this. Man, as a Star Wars fan, what is your star rating for Star Wars Visions?
I gotta say 5 out of 5. I loved it. Yeah.
As an anime fan,
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
It showed off so many different studios, so many different directors, animation styles. It blew me away.
So, as a Star Wars semi-fan, I give it 5 out of 5 because I love all the new directions they took. Even the ones I didn't like very much and I felt dragged a bit had something. At least
they had a wrinkle.
They had they had something that would grab you and go, oh, this is interesting.
And no Skywalkers.
Boba Fett. And Jabba. Okay.
They were there as comic relief, though.
They were there mostly as comic relief.
And Chibi.
Yes, and Chibi. I want Chibi Boba Fett now and everything. And as an anime fan, definitely a 5 out of 5. I love anthology series because it is a great chance to show off the different styles and studios and directors and I'm a huge fan of animated short films. I actually look for those and buy them for my anime collection because it is a chance of a new type of storytelling. Yeah. And it's hard to do a short film right. As you said, as we pointed out, some of these shorts were probably not the best shorts because they needed more.
A little fleshing
out. And that, I think, is because it is really hard to make something really short and make it tell a story.
A full story
that makes 15 to 20 minutes. The longest one, was 25.
Okay. Yeah, they were all like 15 to 25.
But I would say none of them were longer than half an hour.
No. Mm-mm.
And it's hard to tell those stories. So I really, even the ones I think didn't do it quite so well, I'm still amazed at the job they did, cramming in that much into such a short time.
Yeah, there was something to like about all of them, for sure. So we both, I think, really enjoyed it.
As I said, I love short films.
Yep.
I'm glad there's no Skywalkers. I'm glad we got to see a different side of Star Wars.
Exactly. And I want more of this type of stuff for Star Wars. Like, explore this huge
Explore
universe.
the galaxy. Stop focusing on Han Solo and Skywalker.
And the Skywalkers.
We can find other people to look at.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I enjoyed The Mandalorian so much. And I was a little sad when they brought Boba Fett in because I was like, oh, we're going back. Here we go. Because I was happy when we're on Tatooine and they found the character they thought was Boba Fett, but it's just Boba Fett. It's just Boba Fett's armor.
It was just a guy who had his armor.
And I was like, okay, that's a good callback without being a callback. But then they do bring him back. Although I do like the Boba Fett they bring back.
And I'm curious. Yeah, that series starts soon. I think,
it does.
Month. So I'm curious.
But I kind of want to sit down and rewatch The Mandalorian now.
Really? All right. When you talk about Star Wars, you really are like, man, yeah.
Yeah, I want to rewatch Mandalorian, maybe rewatch the original trilogy.
They're all on Disney Plus, right?
Or I could watch the Lego Star Wars Adventures.
Hey, the Lego Star Wars things are pretty funny. I've enjoyed them. I think they did a Christmas special last year, and it was pretty funny.
Okay.
Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the 1980s Christmas special.
Yeah, there's some
some Star Wars should die.
Some Star Wars stuff we won't be podcasting about.
Ever. That should die. I've only seen clips of it, but it should definitely die. Yeah, definitely check out Star Wars Visions if you haven't yet on Disney+. Plus. Mm-hmm. If it ever does come out on disc, I am so buying it for myself, and I think, Mr. Keith, you definitely will be getting it.
I will be buying it for the library.
Okay, yeah. All right, because this is something we need in our collection if it ever becomes available.
Watch, so they make a season 2.
Yes, yes. Season 2, definitely. I want to see Miyazaki do a Star Wars.
Oh, could you imagine if they got him?
Oh my gosh. I was already getting Nazca vibes off Toby, so.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have to commit to a whole movie.
No, just a short. Here, make a short. Granted, I have heard he is currently working on a movie. And
I think he said it takes him like months to get a minute of animation. Yeah. So it would take him a few years even for a short.
But it would be amazing.
Yeah.
It'd be very different. I would be very curious to see what he does with Jedi.
We can only hope.
Can you imagine if he designed a Sith Lord?
All right. Now you're making me hope.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Keith, for coming on and discussing Star Wars Visions.
All right. May the Force be with you.
And with you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all for joining Mr. Keith and I as we talked about Star Wars and anime and Kurosawa, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion as much as I did. I'm kind of sad that currently the Star Wars anthology is only available streaming on Disney+. I'm really looking forward to a physical release. Although I will say it will give me a small shelving problem. Does it go upstairs with all the anime, or does it go downstairs with all my Disney movies and other Star Wars films? I don't know. It will be an interesting conundrum, and probably one that only I will have, because I'm me. If you have any thoughts or opinions that you would like to share about anything we talked about in this episode, please feel free to email me at the email address that's in the show notes. I look forward to hearing from anybody and everybody. And with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. I hope you all have a happy new year and that your next year is full of watching a ton of anime. Bye!